You got a tattoo, then you got to have a story. First, we got some Mythology ink, and secondly, we've got blackout ink, the wrong kind.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Katie Kaz here with Tat-Stories. I am out in San Diego today with Britt. Britt is a whole tatted situation, so we're going to dive into some of her beautiful pieces right here. So, Britt, you obviously have a lot of tattoos on you. Which one of these are some of your most recent that you've gotten, and can you talk a little bit about their meaning?
Yeah, sure. The most recent have been, so I got this hat on cowboy boots, kind of meant to represent my dad and grandpa because they got me into the whole old school westerns and stuff like that. And it has a lot to do with how I was kind of raised as far as that goes, just in the neck of the woods, in the middle of the desert kind of thing. And then this one is from Silent Hill Homecoming. I was going to get the original Silent Hill because no one likes the Silent Hill Homecoming game. It was the worst. But this one was just easier to fit there. But it's, I like it because it's not a lot of people know what it means and it's kind of scary looking.
I like it a lot. I was very curious. I didn't immediately recognize it, so it's cool that you have a little explanation behind it. Another thing I noticed about that tattoo you just mentioned, so it's obviously bright red. It pops a lot because you mostly have a black and gray situation on. Can you talk a little bit about why you chose the color scheme you did and why you only have certain kind of pieces of color in certain areas of your body?
Yeah, I just feel like when you do black and gray and you do like bright red, it really pops, and it's red is commonly used in like horror movies and games and stuff to be like a little intimidating and scary. I'm not trying to necessarily intimidate people, but I'm very into horror and scary stuff, so it just kind of contrasts really well. And I personally just prefer black and gray because for me it's a lot easier to see the individual piece. In addition to I have this really, really dumb joke between my friends that when I get drunk, I want to color myself with washable markers. Because, why not? Fun party trick. But I really like how bold the black and gray is and how much it stands out.
That's awesome. I love that party trick. So if anyone's ever bored, you just bring like a Crayola color pack with you, walk up to a party, and you're like a human like easel. That's awesome. And you've got some really cool kind of outlined pieces for that. Another thing I noticed about your pieces too is like you have a lot of like what looks like Norse methodology or what's the word? Mythology. That's what I'm looking for. Thank you. Can you talk a little bit about why you chose more than one piece for that theme?
Absolutely. I'm super into mythology, specifically Norse mythology. It does have a lot to do with my heritage on my mother's side. We're very, very German and Scandinavian. So, and I like how kind of cryptic it is because like runes have specific meanings per each rune, and you can spell things with runes if you know what you're doing. And I just kind of like the whole mystique behind it, and it just looks really cool. And I don't know, I'm just super into like the whole Viking thing and all that. So it's kind of like a big personal preference, and you can do a lot with it, in my opinion.
Another thing I wanted to ask about you is, so a lot of your tattoos seem to be derived from either, things that interest you or creative concepts in your life. Can you talk a little bit about what's your process from, hey, I think this is a cool idea, to, okay, this is my fully fleshed out tattoo. I want to get it on me now.
A lot of it is, so I do a lot of art myself on the side and stuff like that. So I'll get inspired by, a lot of it is music, video games, or like horror media kind of stuff. So I'll try to like kind of sketch out the idea. And what I used to do when I first started getting tattooed is I would Photoshop it onto the given body part and think about it just for a little bit. I'm a little spontaneous, so like me thinking about it is like 2 days. But it's like I'll put it there and really think about it, like, because placement's kind of important, I feel, especially when you get bigger pieces, is you got to plan it out, because it's like it's never just going to be the one piece. That's not how tattoos work. So it's just like, will I like it there? What could I fit around it that'll look cohesive, and stuff like that. So, and like that sounds like a big explanation, but a lot of it usually is me doodling it and then sending to my tattoo artist and be like, I want this, help me.
So that's so interesting you say that, because I also have designed a lot of my tattoos, and I think for someone like you who's creative and has not only the eye but the talent to draw it out, one thing we're actually working on at Tat-Stories is conversations around when you bring a piece to your artist. How do you handle the back and forth of, you are talented enough to draw what you want. It's not like, here's my idea, artist, run with it. So how do you balance what you drew with what they are going to turn it into? Because obviously they're going to put their own spin on it. Like, how do you find that happy medium?
So I think it really comes down to the artist and if you really connect with that person. So my artist Travis and my friend Colleen also does my art. Colleen's known me since high school, so she knows what I want. She knows I'm picky. So she knows that if I want something a certain way, I want it a certain way. And same with my artist Travis. And really, like, they're both really great in the sense that you get really excited about something and they're like, yes, I am so for this. And I mean, both of them have touched my skin many times now, so they have an idea of what I'm going for. And I think that does help, is just getting that kind of knowledge with your artist so they understand what's going through your head when you give them that design. And it helps, like, even if you draw the design, I like to give like a description. So for example, like I have a Huldra on my calf, and the Huldra is a folklore mythology creature in Scandinavian culture and Norway and Sweden and stuff, like those two countries, and there's a lot of mythology behind it. So what I did is I sketched it out really quick and said, this is the general idea of what I want. Here's the folklore, trying to give them the backstory so they get it. Because it helps when you explain what you're trying to get out of the piece. And when you explain that in addition to drawing it, they usually take it in the right direction. And then you kind of get that extra oomph to that tattoo that you didn't think could be possible.
That's awesome. And I think that's a really important piece, too, of being able to articulate that if you can. The other piece you touched on that I love, too, is having a relationship with your artist. Like, having your artist get excited about what you want is, I mean, there's no better feeling, I feel like. And one thing I wanted to ask, too, is because, again, we were talking about relationship building with artists, how that can actually change what you get out of your tattoo experience. You have so many tattoos. Do you have any where you've just walked into a shop and gotten it done as sort of a walk-in, or you didn't know your artist very well? And if so, can you describe kind of the difference between those two experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have two. So everyone kind of knows about the Friday the 13th sales. This was kind of a negative experience for me. I waited 5 hours outside of a tattoo shop, and I was really upset because they had this image of what I wanted on their Instagram. I show up and it's not on their flashboards. So I have already waited 5 hours. I'm looking at the flashboards going, uh-oh. So I get to the desk, and of course, you know, the guy's like, oh, I told all my artists they needed to have this and stuff. And it was kind of like, yeesh, this is no good. And I ended up having to pay full price. And I mean, that definitely impacted my experience, because I'm like, dude, I waited here 5 hours. Like, what on earth? And it took like maybe 20 minutes for the tattoo to get done. So it's important to have that relationship with your tattoo artist. And I think a great way to know that you have the good person is if they want to do a consultation first. So you have that opportunity to build that relationship before your first tattoo. And the other shop I went right into, that one wasn't nearly a negative experience, but it was my first tattoo. Didn't really know what to expect. You can't really ever know what to expect. It's a very new experience. You can do as much research as you want, but it's still, you have to go and learn it as you go. But it just wasn't as like awesome of an experience, because it's just like they did it and that was it. And then it's like I never went back to that shop. So it's better to build that relationship, because you build trust in that person. You know they're not going to do something you don't want, and it's kind of like that communication you get with it. So if you want just a one and done tattoo from random shops, I mean, by all means, do your research, make sure they're a good artist, and go for it. But I think the tattoo experience is much better when you build a relationship with an artist and maintain that relationship and continue going to that person, because all of my work has been done by one shop and another shop for the most part. So just two shops really have done a lot of work on me. Yeah. And I have relationships with those shops, and it's a much more awesome feeling because they get so excited about it, and that relationship adds to the experience, in my opinion.
That's so well said, Britt. And I appreciate you sharing with that, because I think that's a lot of what we've heard from our viewers. One last question for you before we let you go. Speaking of research, do you have any other pieces in the works that you're looking to get soon? 1, 12, 15?
3.
All right, not as high as I thought, but given how much you have on you, I'm like always napkins, back of menus, whatever. I'm like, doodling out concepts. So what do you got in the works?
So me and my best friend Colleen, one of the girls who's done the tattoos on me, me and her are getting best friend bind runes done by our friend Liz. And then she's also going to be doing like a spooky kind of cowgirl head right here on this gap because I get tattoo OCD where I have to be even, at least asymmetrically. I'm nowhere near symmetrically even. But just like that. And then we're going to probably tattoo runes on my toes for the fun of it.
That's awesome. I love it. And you mentioned your friend Colleen a couple times. Before we sign off, are there any artists or any shops you'd like to give a shout out to for Tat-Stories?
Oh, absolutely. So I typically go to Axiom Tattoo in PB. I've been tattooed by Travis. He's the one who does most of my tattoos. And then Liz, she's apprenticing right now. And $40 tattoos, I mean, not really an excuse not to go. So she's started doing some stuff on me. And then my friend Colleen at Black Cat Inc. in Idaho, if you're near the Logan area, she's done a lot of bits and pieces on me too.
That's so awesome. Well, Britt, thank you so much for interviewing with us today. You are such a work of art. I love it. This is Katie Kaz. Before we sign out, make sure you hit that subscribe button at Tat-Stories. We'll see you next time. What's up, guys? Katie Kaz here. I am in Balboa Park. We have Tracy with us today with Tat-Stories. Tracy has a bunch of awesome pieces on her, so we're going to dive into some of her stories here. Look at this. I love it. So, Tracy, you are obviously not a novice when it comes to ink. You are tatted up and down, as far as I can tell. Why don't you go ahead and talk about this shoulder piece you have here, any meaning behind it, where you got it, things like that.
So if you look at my shoulder piece where there is just the 3 pink flowers, if you can see that in the middle there.
Yeah, the like lighter color or the like reddish pinkish colored ones.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So there's 3 small ones right there. And that was my first tattoo ever. And it was my senior year of high school and I just had surgery and we were partying after school. I got blacked out. It was like a Wednesday. Like, what am I doing with my life? And I was still hopped up on painkillers from the surgery. And I had my appendix had ruptured, so they'd taken out my belly button ring. And I talked my friends into taking me to a tattoo parlor to get my belly button re-pierced. And I don't really remember. Like, I vaguely remember being there. That's about it. I wake up in the middle of the night. My shoulder hurts like heck. There's plastic covering it. And I'm like, oh, shit, I got a tattoo. And then I go and look. And, it's kind of like, it's messy after you see it. And I see some whatever pink flowers or whatever, and I don't think I went to school for a couple of days, and then I finally talked to my friends and stuff, and they're like, yeah.
Oh my god,
you should have seen what you first picked out. I was just like, and I don't know. So anyways, that happened, and then I finally go back to school, and all these people are coming up to me, and they're like, we heard you got about the stick man and the lawnmower. I'm like, what are you talking about? Come to find out, my sarcastic older brother had started a rumor that I got a stick figure pushing a lawnmower on my back. So I'm just like, this is so weird and ridiculous. And then
it keeps going. This story just keeps going. I love it.
In case you're wondering what kind of tattoo parlor will tattoo a drunk girl, it's in rural Wisconsin, and it got closed down, I think it was like within the year because of a Hep C outbreak. I did not get Hep C. Thank God.
We're in the clear. Just for the record, Tracy's in the clear.
Clear.
Oh my God, I have so many questions. Okay, number one, what was the first thing that went through your head when you realized, oh shit, I tattooed myself basically unconsciously?
I wasn't worried about the ink, but it was more like, oh crap, what is my dad gonna say?
Oh, yes. Were your parents pissed?
He was in tickled pink. I tried to tell him that so I grew up with him and my brother, and so I tried to tell him that one of the flowers was for me, one was for him, one was for my brother. He didn't fucking buy it.
Nice. Building some symbolism into it.
Exactly. He didn't buy it for 1 second. I was like, fine.
Oh my God. Okay, and so then what was the original tattoo that you had picked out that your friends apparently steered you away from?
I have no idea. They told me at the time, but I don't remember what they said it was now.
Okay.
Flowers, but just like ugly maybe? I don't remember.
So I gotta say, tattoo shop that would do a drunk girl or someone who was on painkillers, one thing, but your friends let you go through with it too?
Okay, in my friend's defense, when I was younger and I would drink, I was one of those very stubborn ones, to put it mildly, and it's just, you couldn't stop me. I was going to do it.
I mean, you were the leader of the pack. They were just following your lead, right?
I was the alpha.
I love it. Well, considering everything in the world, you could have gotten ex-boyfriends' names. These flowers are actually really beautiful. So, I mean, I think you definitely dodged a bullet on that one. And then you also have, I think, more flowers down by your hip here. What do you have on this whole right side of your body here?
So here we got a passage from a piece of artwork. I had to paraphrase it or whatever, but sort of like a philosophy that I felt like fit my life. This one goes down pretty far, kind of hard to show. I know he got a picture of it already. That one goes down not too much. Most of my designs I kind of got on a whim just because I thought they're cool. Yeah. And I more just like how ink looks on the body. This one, same thing, was just sort of on a whim. This one I got with 3 girlfriends, and this one kind of have a funny story too. Oh, I love it. Can't really see it as well now because it's so old now, but I don't know if you can see how there's some spots that are missing, like a lot of color is missing from it.
Yeah, and just for those who are watching, there's 2 flowers on her wrist, and then you have almost like some vine or like a little tie together with black.
Floor, I forget what that's called. Yeah, so right after I got this done, my cousin had talked me into doing a brief stint working at Hooters, and I went in for training, and they told me I had to put liquid cover-up on it, and I think I had gotten it maybe a week earlier, which you're not supposed to put anything on them. They're all bubbled up or whatever. So, of course, when that came off or whatever, it took a bunch of the other color off with it. But the part that's funny about that is they made me cover that up, take out my belly button ring, or my the one I had on my tongue at the time, and then they had me put on their costume right at the same, this all happening in the bathroom in the same 5 minutes, and I put on the costume, the little orange shorts and the tank top, and the first thing the trainer does, after she goes and she takes my shirt, pulls it down, lifts up my cleavage, pulls the shorts up higher. I'm like, can we rewind? What was the reason I had to cover this up again? Because Hooters is a classy establishment.
Did they find any other tattoos when they pulled your shirt down? Or
No, I didn't have many yet. This was like, I think I only had the little one on my shoulder and then this one at the time. So yeah, but I was just like, they literally said it was a classy family establishment.
Right. It's funny you say that too. And we've interviewed people actually before. One girl actually got her wrist done on purpose because she had this idea of like, if I go in for a corporate interview and they see my tattoo and they don't like it and they tell me like that's a problem, that's not the place for me. So aside from Hooters, have you run into any issues in your life where like the tattoo showing were like a barrier for you?
Not really. I strategically kept most of them around my core so I could easily cover it up. I worked in Texas as a school psychologist for a hot minute, and Texas is pretty conservative. So that was really the only place where I really had to make sure that I kept the one on my wrist because that's really the only one that's that difficult to ever hide. So that was really the only place where I really had to make sure I kept it covered up. But other than that, I've worked in Arizona, California, and it's not really a concern out here. I can't really think of anything that's been an impediment to yet.
That's a lot of what we've heard from both our subscribers and people we've interviewed is it's becoming more of an accepted kind of liberal thing in mainstream, which in my personal opinion is great. And so assuming that you got these ones on your hip while you were conscious, right? No painkillers?
Yeah. Well.
Oh, there's more. Okay.
I mean, I've been on various painkillers for years because of an underlying disease, but it was painkillers I would have been on anyways.
Right, gotcha. So when you got these ones, again, you do have that kind of like floral, there's like stars, and it's very similar, like nature-esque movement. Is there any like symbolism behind those of why you chose like flowers on your hips? And if not, if it's just like where it is on your body, how do you decide where you want it on your body?
Honestly, I just went back to being a psychologist and wanting to keep everything on my core. And I like the side pieces. And I mean, honestly, what I will typically do is I'll get kind of like a concept in my head of what I want. But I'm not actually like an artist myself. So I'll bring it to the tattoo artist and they'll, clean it up, whatever. And they'll help strategically place it where it'll like flow on my body more. But yeah, that's pretty much how I've...
That's awesome. And so if you're like the type, and we've interviewed types who actually draw their own and then bring it to an artist. So you're the type, you have a concept, the artist will do the legwork for you.
Like bits and pieces that I like from different things and like, can you combine this with this?
And how does that normally, can you walk us through, like, does that normally work well where you say, here's my high level concept, make it into art? Or have you ever run into an issue where an artist hasn't been able to give you what you want? Or like, what does that negotiation look like?
Not really too much. I mean, I feel like they've always made them better. For the most part, yeah. I mean, the only time I really ran into an issue was when I added on to this shoulder piece. It was one of the it was my first and only time running into this, but it was one of those artists who charges by the hour, and so he's really taking his time with it. And like, after 3 sessions with him that I think were like 2 to 3 hours each, if not 4, he has still only had the outline done on this. And you can see it's like not that big. Like, it should have been done. And so I ended up going somewhere else to the guy who actually did this awesome side piece for me. And I had him finish it up. He did all the fill, everything in one session, boom.
Interesting. Okay, so question on that now, because I've run into different situations with that. Did you have a problem, or did you run into any issues with that artist covering up or like filling in another artist's work? Sometimes there's some territorial issues that can arise.
I don't know. I didn't even tell that guy I was going somewhere else to finish it. I was just like, he's been, messing with, wasting my money and my time. So yeah, just went and to somebody else. So.
That's awesome. And that other guy had no problem, even though the outline was already on you. He's like, I'll fill it in, even though it's not my work.
Yeah. He's like, I don't even remember what he was telling me. He was actually the one who, when I was telling him, I was like, yeah, I don't know what this guy's doing, blah, blah. He's like, oh, he's trying to get your money because he charges hourly. I was like, oh, he's like, yeah, I don't do that. I try to keep my clients out of pain. I try to do it done fast as possible, as high quality as possible. And he really did. He honestly was the most high quality, fastest tattooer. He's in Phoenix if anybody needs anybody.
What, do you know his name or what shop he works at if you want to shout him out? And if not, we can always put a link in the video afterwards, and we can get that information from you.
I think I follow him on Instagram.
Okay.
Like Nigel's Tattoos or something.
Someone named Nigel in Phoenix. If he owns a shop, just go there.
If he's still in downtown Phoenix. This was a few years ago.
We'll get that information from you after, no worries at all. Another question I had for you, Tracy, if you had one piece of advice to give someone getting their first tattoo for the first time, since you have several, you've been through the gamut before, what advice would you give them?
I don't know.
Kind of a loaded question, so putting you in the hot seat here.
It hasn't ever really been that big of a deal to me. I'm always just sort of like, let's go, let's do it. Like, I've never regretted any of them or anything like that. I guess my biggest thing would just, be to tell them to shop around so you don't end up with the dude like I did, waste my time and money. I didn't shop around. I just like called place. I was like, are you available? Can I come in? Usually, the artists that you actually have to schedule something with tend to be better. So yeah, just don't do that.
That's awesome. I mean, a lot of your pieces seem to be more like for the beauty of the piece in and of itself and what it looks like on you, regardless of like if there's like a 7-layer meaning to it or something like that. Do you have any plans for future pieces, or is this going to be another spur of the moment when you feel it, you'll do it?
Well, I actually have 2 on the back of my legs that he got pictures of that I never quite finished before I got sick and too poor to finish them. So one of these days I'm going to get around to finishing those.
And what are those?
They are, I can show you. They're on the back.
We could do a little. It's PG-13, no worries. And I'll describe them in case you can't. Oh, wow. So we got a tree with some roots, some quotes, and then what looks like a really awesome sort of mandala lotus with drip chain on it. Very cool. I love the outline on that one on your right thigh.
A little color still. I don't remember what else I want to do on the one. I might be done with that one now. I don't know.
Sometimes it's a process where you're like, do I add, do I not? And then when it's done sort of thing. So you might have a little more on that right thigh, but nothing else so far.
Yeah, that's for the time being.
Who knows what the future brings, right?
Exactly. We'll see.
That's awesome. Well, Tracy, you have been an absolute delight. Thank you so much for interviewing with us. Absolutely. My name is Katie Kaz for Tat-Stories. Before we sign out, make sure you hit that subscribe button. You can get notifications for new stories like Tracy's Crazy Adventures and many others. Thanks so much. We're signing out.